Here.
Third minutes, please.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Any opposed? Approval of the agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, before we start the public comment period, I asked Chris to speak with our attorney, Ginger Schaffner, to give us explanation of the new law. I'm gonna let him go through that.
Yeah, I can apologize on her behalf. I think she's on vacation this week. So I talked to Ginger about, to make sure that we were correct on the issue with public statements and the public comment period. Essentially, the public can get up and talk about anything that is under the purview of the Planning Commission, or in the case of the County Commission, it'd be the same for them, or the BZA would be the same for them, Beer Board, same for them. Whatever you have the jurisdiction over, anything within the jurisdiction of that entity can be discussed, whether it's on the agenda or not. That is the new law. And the question was only going to be whether this Planning Commission, what we have jurisdiction on. That'll be the major issue is, and I know a lot of people out here are here to talk about farm ponds and whatnot with the Hawkins, and we already know that the Planning Commission has no jurisdiction on farming activity in the Right to Farm Act. So we know that. We don't have jurisdiction on that. So if that's what the interpretation is that it's a farming activity, then you don't have jurisdiction to talk about it, then that's the thing. The other thing is the only entity right now that has jurisdiction as far as an appeal process, somebody that wanted to appeal my decision, my administrative interpretation, would have to go to the BZA. That'd be the place to be communicating your thoughts and your ideas and that kind of stuff would be in the BZA. I know I've said it 100 times, but that is what happens. That's how you do this. If you don't agree with me, if you think I'm ignorant, if you think that I don't know what I'm doing, that's okay. I wouldn't be the first time that somebody said that. But this is not the place to talk about it. This entity has no jurisdiction over that. The Board of Zoning Appeals has jurisdiction on that. If the Board of Zoning Appeals were to overturn my interpretation and take a different interpretation, then I would have to act on it. Whether it'd be the good thing, best thing for the county or not, it's something I would have to act on. I do my job, and I basically act on the things that I'm allowed to act on, but it's up to me to decide what that is. Once I make the decision, the county attorney is going to either back up that decision or she's not going to back up the decision. In this case, she's backed up that decision at the moment. But the Board of Zoning Appeals is quasi-judiciary board. They have the ability to, that's one of the three things, one of the three powers that they have. It's not this entity, it's that entity. So that would be, I'm just trying to address the elephant in the room because, it doesn't go unnoticed when you guys rally the troops on Facebook. And that's okay, that's your right. I take issue with some of the things that people say out of turn, especially attorneys who are licensed, who know better, but that's another issue. But I will say, Planning Commission has no jurisdiction on farming activity, and as long as it's ruled to be farming activity, it can't be talked about here, it can't be discussed here. Is that clear?
So we will open up public comment period at this time.
We have 4 points that I would like to make. My first question to you guys is, how can you work on a comprehensive growth plan when you don't even exercise proper control over the current zoning in Bedford County? My second question for you is, how can you have data centers or put a moratorium on data centers with their effect on the environment when you don't control the effect on the environment of the illegal quarry operations that we have going on in this county? And no one can deny that these are illegal quarry operations.
Ms. Saylor, if you were listening to what Chris said, we don't have jurisdiction over that. Those are state permits. So you can go to the BZA and bring that up, but this is not the place to bring it up.
My third point is you don't have jurisdiction to approve rezoning, but yet you have attempted to do that. And my fourth point is to the road people, because I see on the agenda the width of a county road, and I need you guys to realize that when you plan for the width of the county road, you need to plan for a foot or two on each side for the weed overgrowth that takes over that county road that leaves you one path down the middle. And those are my 4 points. And thank you very much.
Jenny McKee.
Good evening. I'm going to talk about Tennessee zoning law, which exists with one fundamental reason that I think everybody in this room can agree upon, even you. And that is to protect the rights of property owners and to guarantee due process. When you allow industrial rock crushing operations to exist in an A1 district without the proper rezoning, public notices, or BZA hearing, you strip this community of its statutory right to be heard, just like you're trying to do so now. Public office is public trust. Under Tennessee law and the landmark Tinsley decision, regulating the physical footprint of a quarry is strictly a zoning matter, your exclusive jurisdiction. Allowing M2 industrial operations to start under the guise of agricultural exemption without, say it with me now, proper rezoning, proper notice, and proper BZA hearing is a direct failure of the zoning enforcement. A farmer has the right to dig a pond, but deploying non-exempt industrial machinery to process aggregate for commercial distribution is patently illegal in an A1 district, and your quotes in the Shelbyville Times-Gazette confirm that. This committee is essentially admitting the law is being broken while allowing it to continue, and that completely undermines your credibility and legal standing. You have turned a blind eye to the law and a deaf ear to your constituents. No one is against this industry. No one wants to see the livelihoods of 150 employees affected, but that is the position that you and all the commissioners that have supported your decisions have placed this community in. Because of your failure to do your jobs, you have put this county and its fiscal responsibilities in jeopardy. The county coffers are being held hostage by one man's belief. You were not appointed to interpret the law, you were appointed to enforce it. Do your job and do it right the first time. That's what you owe the citizens of Bedford County today. You have the legal authority to issue a stop work order yesterday. You know it. Coffee County has demonstrated it, and I'm going to keep talking about it. Have a great evening, Chris.
Dwayne Carter.
Well, it's pretty obvious y'all are not going to let me say what I want to say, but I'm going to say this. You show your true colors when you get with the county attorneys and you try to come up with a way to shirk your responsibilities and not let these people speak about what they need to speak about, because you're wrong in what you're doing. You know you're wrong. They're in violation of the Right to Farm Act. First truck that come off that road right there, they were in violation. They cannot sell or barter the rock. They're in violation of it and the green belt. They're running an industrial quarry on the green belt. It's against the law. Everything they're doing is against the law. You ain't got to worry about a lawsuit from them. They can't sue you. They're violating the law. What you need to worry about is us suing you.
Anna Brandon.
Obviously, I'm going to speak about the same issue. I don't know that you all have heard from someone who lives right next to it, but that's me and my husband. And we live next to the one on 64. It has been going on for 2 years. We've been really good neighbors. We've tried to be understanding. We heard through mutual friends that they were going to be done in 2 years. We gave them 2 years. It's been 2 years. We lived in that home for 7 years prior to this beginning. We had some settling. Our house is 150 years old. We had made extensive repairs on the home. We put in new windows. We've put in a new roof. Lots of repairs done to this home. In these 2 years, we have seen more damage than I've ever seen on a home I've lived in. Cracks, new cracks through the ceiling. Our master bedroom floor ceiling is completely sloped down. It looks like it could fall in any day. I have 2 small children. My NICU baby was brought home, who wasn't breathing, brought home to a home that is right next to a rock quarry with crushing happening daily for 2 years. He's a year and a half old now. And I have a 2-year-old as well who's been exposed to it. With no regulation. Yes, TDEC is supposedly, although they didn't request permits until here recently when they got caught, they're supposed to be monitoring that. But how are they going to know when this pollution is happening? They're not out there daily like I am. They don't know. I have seen, personally, I've counted how many dump trucks of gravel have left that property in one day. It has been over 15 dump trucks, which can hold 25 tons each. They're overflowing with gravel, and 2 semi-trucks in that same day. That is hundreds of tons of gravel coming out of that property in one day.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Have you gone to the BZA about this?
No, that is
Have you gone to the state?
no.
Because the
I'm
state is-
hoping that
The state issues the
the
permit,
state has
not
pushed
us.
it back on you guys numerous times. They have told all of us it's not their
So
responsibility.
your option is to go to the BZA.
That is something we're
So-
looking
so
into
is-
doing. Yes.
Has anyone that has spoken gone to the BZA? Because there's
I
a
have
process.
not.
I'm not trying to disagree with you, but
I'm
there's
hoping to
a
give the information
process
to
that you
Chris
have to
so that
follow
he can reassess
and
his
go to the
opinion on this,
BZA,
or maybe
and then
come out and
they'll
take a
make
look.
recommendation.
I know
on
that
what we-
now.
okay.
That's not. I think
So I'm not
obviously,
trying to
I have
argue,
2 small
I'm trying
children.
to
I'm not
help you
researching the legal
work the
process.
and the process is you would go before the BZA.
I'm hoping to appeal to Chris as well as the commissioners that they will reassess the situation with more information. I don't think you all have heard from someone who lives right next to it, who has experienced all of this daily, who has eyes out her quick kitchen window watching it. It is hundreds of tons coming off in one day. It is 5:45 in the morning to 8, 9 o'clock at night sometimes, every single day, sometimes Saturday and Sundays. They have slowed down a bit in the last month or so after we had a discussion with Chuck
Okay.
on our access
You've
road.
had
They've
your
got
30
another one
minutes.
though.
I'm gonna have to cut you off.
All right, but I appreciate you
All
hearing
I
me.
ask that you go through the process. When you come here and we don't issue the permit, it's a state permit. If you don't like that action.
It's not, I'm
then
not
you
worried
go
about that
bu-
permit.
Then you go before the
Zoning.
BZA, and the BZA will make a recommendation. That's where you start, and then we can start working on the rest of it.
Coffee County didn't start that way though. They have been able to successfully keep the same people. That's not their land out there, but they're doing a lake over there too. 3 lakes going in within like a 10-mile radius. But it's just for cattle or irrigation.
Okay, thank you. Your time's up. Thank you.
Coffee County can do it.
Thank
We
you.
can do it too.
Okay, so I do want to address a few things. And I think first, the most obvious is that there are some good people out there who really believe some of the things that they're saying. And they really believe because I think some of them have been manipulated by others that have politicized this issue. I think that most people, if you watch, I mean, you don't know me, but if you watch, 10 videos of what it's like for a typical planning commission meeting or a board of zoning appeals meeting, I'm not some evil doer, okay? I'm just trying to do my job. And I think it would make sense that most of you are fairly high intelligence. You would understand that if I do this for a living, maybe I know a few things that you don't know. And maybe just because you think you can read a law means that you understand all the nuances of the law. Because you walk into a market and you see that there's a lotto game going on and you think, oh, that's gambling, but it's okay. The state's okay with that kind of gambling. And then you walk around the corner and maybe you see a poker machine and that's gambling. It's the same thing. It's just the state looks at that type of gambling different. Ma'am, I'm talking. I've got the floor. You've had the floor. I have the floor. So anyway, there's a lot of nuances in the law. There are things that the average Joe just looks for in the law when you're reading the law, and you look for crushed stone, or you look for this or that, or some key word that will make it make sense to you. But unless you are in the practice of that law, and you understand the definitions of some of those key words, because laws have definitions that are different than the other laws, and attorneys know that. And if you look at those definitions, that's what I have to work with. If you think for 1 second that I would tolerate 2 years of this kind of behavior and this kind of negative attitudes toward me, even my wife has been attacked on Facebook, who has nothing to do with any of this. Some of the worst things that I've seen in the community in Bedford County so far has come from these people, some of these people, and some of you, and I appreciate the last lady that got up and talked, because that's what I would love to hear from people, because that's what I will want to do for you guys. I would invite any of you, and I still would, into my office where we could have a deep dive, and I could demonstrate to you what I'm talking about and let you read the things that are critical for you to read it, for you to understand it. Because this is not a simplistic issue. It's not one of those things that you just turn a book and you open that green book and you read the words, and then somehow it's going to jump out at you and you're just going to understand it overnight. I'm not going to dismiss what you do for a living. I'm not going to dismiss you as a person and say that what you do for a living maybe is not as complicated as what I do. I would never do that, because I know that everybody has a complicated job. And so that bears no relevance here, but I'm just saying, because you have a complicated job, because you have a complicated job, because you have a complicated job, give me a little bit of break. Maybe mine is too. Maybe mine is complicated in ways that you just don't quite get, because you don't do it for a living. But I do. It's my responsibility to do it, and it's my responsibility to protect the 50 or 60,000 people in your county from a lawsuit for something that I don't think we can defend. That's what I'm trying to do. And if I had this much pressure on me because I was doing something illegal or corrupt or something wrong, do you think I would continue to hold this line like I have? That doesn't even make sense. This is not one of those things where somebody's just like overtly violating a law and just like rubbing your face in it. That's crazy. It's crazy. That's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. All of you have had the floor. If any of you are sincere and any of you want to know the facts, just make an appointment and come in and talk to me. I will spend the amount of time that it takes for you to understand it. So when you walk into my office, that at least you'll be scratching your head, if nothing else, because I promise you, I scratch my head all the time. There are some of these things that I don't like myself. I don't. But I have to do the job that I'm required to do, and sometimes that makes people mad, and sometimes it makes people happy. And that's just a product of my job. It's a product of being in the zoning business and having to try to interpret these things sometimes when it's a little bit there's a nuance there. And of course, TDEC is going to, as you say, throw the zoning under the bus. Of course. TDEC, the state doesn't control zoning. They will tell you that in a heartbeat, and I know they've told it to you ad nauseum. That's not our job. This is our job. That is our job until the state, not TDEC, but the state law says different. The state law preempts us from regulating religious activity. They preempt us from regulating farming activity. But when you go into it, it's not just that it's religious activity or farming activity, it's how they define the words. And this thing, for instance, you say Coffee County could do it. What you didn't mention is that Marshall County's doing it. If I had the Marshall County quarry going on in Bedford County, I'd have jumped on that like a duck on a June bug. That's a very obvious one, but do you know that there's things going on in Williamson County that have way stricter rules, and they have engineers on staff that we don't have? They have all the tools and resources available to them, and yet guess what? They found one that they've exempted. And yes, I did stop the quarry from Mike Hollinshead a few years ago. Yes, I did do that because it was a commercial quarry. They wanted to have a commercial quarry, but that's not how this one was, ma'am, this is not how this one was presented. It was not presented that way. It is a totally different animal. It just doesn't seem like it because you live next door to it and you're impacted by it. And I get that. I do. I feel for you. But I'm limited in what I can do. And I've tried to tell you guys, look, there's this whole higher power out there. That power gives me the power that I don't have. And if you want to exercise that, it's $305 and you can sleep at night, okay? If they rule in your favor, great. If they don't, it opens the door for you to do something else that you don't currently have the ability to do. I welcome that. I welcome any time somebody wants to challenge one of my opinions. I don't think that I'm the most brilliant person in the world. The other thing that maybe you should know, I stopped a quarry from the Hawkins themselves, a commercial quarry, about 10 years ago. So I've done that. I have that history. When it is a commercial quarry, I know what the regulations are. I know how that works. I've actually strengthened the quarry resolution since I've been in this office. So we have more tools today than we ever had. Coffee County copied our regulations on quarries verbatim, the regulations that I wrote. So don't think I don't know what they can do and what they can't do, okay? I do know. I wrote it. I'm not your enemy. I'm not. I want to do what's right. I always want to do what's right. And I wouldn't sit up here and take this kind of punishment for 2 years just because I want to be right. I would love to be wrong, okay? I would love it. So from that, I'll move on. Ma'am, I'm doing my job, but you just don't understand it. You just don't understand it. But hopefully, maybe you'll actually take that invitation to come in and you can see for yourself. Okay, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
New business. Review study pages 34 to 62 of the comprehensive plan first draft. Discussion by planning commission members and a technical review of the material on page 34 to 62. Do you want to start with a couple of the corrections, or you want to wait and do that under old business? We need to make to our,
Okay, so if there are any technical corrections, so one of the things I've sort of set out to do from the beginning in this document is to resist the urge to make major sweeping changes to the wording unless it is a misspelling or it is worded incorrectly or something like that. Like if it's those kind of things, and I've got a helper over here that has helps me quite a bit with that sort of thing. So I am working on, as she gives them to me, I'm working on those. And so hopefully by the time we get ready to do the public engagement section, then I will have a clean section without any typos and that kind of thing. You know, you've got several people writing one document and it's going back and forth. You know, you're going to end up with just different voices, different ways of expressing things, different ways of saying things, and that sort of thing. So you're going to end up with that kind of thing. And when I start the public engagement process, I would like to start with a clean document in that regard. What I would like for us to do in this setting is to just discuss the sweeping technical changes as far as like the word, you know, like well, like Lynn did in the first meeting when we talked about it, when she had the conversation about the whiskey and tourism, you know, that sort of thing, okay. And she didn't really like that, and so, and I agree with that. So, what we want to do then is, in the minutes, and Barbara's taking notes, is as we discuss these things and these ideas that you have, then what we will be doing is basically creating a spreadsheet with ideas of how you want to revisit these things once the public has had an opportunity to sink their teeth into it. I want to have a robust public engagement process for the comprehensive plan, and I want them to have just as much opportunity to dig into this as you guys are having, because that's how it works, and that's the process. So when when they offer ideas and suggestions, I will do the same thing. Those ideas will go onto a separate spreadsheet. Ultimately, you guys have the jurisdiction to adopt the plan. And so when we get through with all of the engagement process, you guys we'll sit down and we'll bring up the items that you talked about a few months ago, which is now, and then we'll talk about how the public views those things. And you guys will be able to weigh the existing language that is in there now versus the ideas that you had along the way, married to the ideas or how the public felt about those issues as well, all at the same time. That way you guys can make, I think, a better decision, a more grounded decision in terms of how you think this plan moves forward or not. That's kind of my vision, and we did invite Mr. Harwell, Superintendent Harwell, and his vice superintendent, assistant superintendent, and tonight, because the education element is in this section that you guys have reviewed, and so he's had a copy of it, and an opportunity. And we really want anybody that's like Tim, that has such a important role in the community, to really have a strong voice moving forward, and kind of see what we're doing and how we think we need to move forward, and then maybe you can give us some better direction. But that's kind of lay of the land, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Mr. Chairman, I kind of asked Chris, I feel like all of this is kind of light on agriculture. I mean, there's no major topic heading of agriculture, and it's one of the biggest industries, if not the biggest industry in Bedford County. But I don't know, Chris, how to work that in with the other, but I've asked Chris to look at that, Mr. Chairman, and I don't know whether that would involve statistics, Chris, or the farming activities that go on in this county. You do mention the agritourism in with the tourism, but I guess my ideal preference would be there be a whole section on agriculture and its importance in our county, or in the same place where you have the businesses and industries type thing. So I asked him that as a side thing, Mr. Chairman.
So if you look on further than where we are tonight, Chris has set up an agricultural area. And I had in my notes, I think we need to get Matthew Dietz to come here from the UT Extension Office also.
Also, there's the state UT Ag Extension. Well, it's not the Ag Extension Office. It's just, I guess it's oh crap! It's not MTAS. CTAS. The CTAS has a new program, and it's a planning assistance program. And I've been in communications with this brand new, and they've got a GIS team that's coming on board. They're not on board yet, but I've got it set up for him to come and speak to you guys one night. But he's going to actually help me with making the agricultural element more robust. And we also talked about creating a custom map to include in here to go with the agricultural element, and try to designate certain areas as agricultural areas. And that was how it was done in the original map. And so we want to continue that forward. So we are looking at that, and you guys will have an opportunity to meet with him at some point in time. And even I even discussed him putting on an in-service class for you guys this year. Maybe you get something a little bit different than from him that you've been getting in the past.
Are we discussing the pages we were assigned now? Yes. Okay. I have a concern about the goals section, particularly 3 and 5. 45 and 46. there are a lot of suggestions in there, but there's no funding. You know, I don't, given the demands we have for schools and stuff, I don't know where that funding's coming from or how we might, I don't know if we need to address that but we're putting ideas out there and saying, oh, that's a great idea, but the reality is the county doesn't have money to do those things. And I don't think the Chamber of Commerce has money.
So I'll address that, Mr. Chairman. So essentially, this is a comprehensive plan. It's really not a set of standards. And one of the important things about a comprehensive plan is that when you list a set of objectives and goals that are unfunded, it's not to say these things need to be funded. What they're there for is to when we get to a place in life when we have an opportunity for a particular grant or something like that that would meet the needs of that particular goal or objective. It shows the state or the federal government or who it is we're trying to get the grant from. It shows them that this was something that the community thought of and has been thinking about and has been planning for a number of years, and that strengthens your grant application so that it gives us opportunities to get funding for things that we might not otherwise be able to get. And that's what these goals and objectives do, sort of in the meat and potatoes of it. Yes, some of these things would be pretty expensive, but we need to know that we're thinking about it. We need the community to know that we're thinking about it, that these are things that maybe seem pie in the sky at the moment, but they might not 15 years from now when I'm, walking the dog and you guys are doing this by yourself.
We're just gonna go page by page and let the board comment, or you want, everybody should have already read it, you wanna let them point out?
Well, I think the goal was that you guys would have read it, made some highlights or something, and you got something ready to talk about.
uh, 62 on the schools, and I asked Mr. Harwell to be thinking about this. In the current issues, when we're being a little bit too specific as to, and I know, Chris, you go back to suggestions and so forth, but rather than stating that a school might be here or a school might be there or it might look like this, and Mr. Harwell's here, I don't mind listening to his 2 cents worth on it, but the school board has 5-year, 10-year plans, and I guess my thoughts are to address it as that rather than suggesting that a school might be here or might be there. We don't know what the growths are. We don't know anything. So that section right there kind of bothers me.
Well, it'd be a great time for Mr. Harwell to get. I'm not sure about that, but I will say this: when we were going through this element, we were in communication with Dr. Garrett, and I think she provided us with a copy of that long-term plan. So.
And Linda, I just want to make sure we're looking at page 63. Current facility needs. Just want to make sure I'm in the. Yeah, my page 63 for talking about district priorities. Just the conversation you and I had earlier is just talking about specific schools. Okay.
I think what Chris was trying to establish is, this is what a school costs, whether it's at Liberty or Community or
Yeah, and that's
Cascade. And this is 2-year-old information.
It
so,
is. It is a little outdated.
the-
I mean, even to the point, Chris, I didn't know exactly what you wanted tonight, but I just went through, just for example, student enrollment numbers per school. There are some changes there. You know, we've seen a trend over the last couple of years of our student enrollment going down. You know, so it's in certain pockets. I mean, on average, over the last couple of years, in total, we're down about 270 students. We've seen preliminary numbers right now. There is a little bit of an uptick, but we're still nowhere close to where we were a couple of years ago. So numbers are going down a little bit. Of course, numbers really dictate future building plans, but I also know there's future development that will more than likely bring in future students into our buildings. And that's, you know, it's hard to predict that. I know there are some things out there that you can maybe get an idea per household how many students might be attending in a certain area. But I just wanted to let you know up front, we have seen a decline. Dr. Rhodes, who is our EIS person, I know I'm talking acronyms here, but that's our Education Information Supervisor. She keeps a close eye on our numbers. She said that we have seen some of our homeschool students coming back into our buildings across the county. And I've seen some web students coming back into our, so we may see a trend going in the other direction. So it's a little difficult to predict. But what we do, in particular as a school board, you know, it's our responsibility to come up with a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan. And what you see here in Jeff is correct. It's a little dated. You know, there's some things, I don't know if this is the platform in which you want me to speak to it, but, you know, there's some things that, you know, our board has talked about that's not on this plan. I don't know if you want me to circle back to you at some point in time and share that with you and give you some updates. It's a lot. I know it's already late at night, but I can do that and maybe help refresh this a little bit on what we see on this page, if that's something you would like for me to do, and adjust numbers and make this a little bit more current.
That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah. This is like a 4-year project, so some of it's going to be fairly recent, some of it's going to be a little
And
bit
I don't
older.
want to delay whatever progress you've had, but I think you probably want something a little bit more recent.
Yeah, I want it to be as
Do
great
you
as it can
think
be.
that homeschooling, you brought it up, homeschooling, do you think there needs to be some kind of information in this?
That is a good question, and it is more relevant now. I mean, it is a factor, and I could speak from many different angles, that just as far as how the state of Tennessee and with vouchers now, and Bedford County's not been affected by that. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Governor Lee passed 35,000 more vouchers, which, you know, basically that's $7,500 per student, and it could be even more if the student has weights. And what that means is if they have special ed, if they're an ESL student and things like that. So we have not been impacted in Bedford County by those vouchers yet, but we have seen a lot of our students go to homeschools, and there's various reasons for that. Some of our families are avoiding responsibility and taking their child out of public schools, whether it be attendance or truancy issues, whether it be behavioral issues, instead of those particular students and families working through that and potentially working through those consequences, they pull their child out and put them in homeschool. That's just one example. There's other examples as well. You know, there's other things as well. We have web school. We had the Cooper Christian Academy. We really don't know how that's going to affect our numbers right now. You know, they have a beautiful building and campus right down the road here, so we don't know that. So with that being said, I think it would probably benefit this plan to kind of update it a little bit on the educational end. And talking about money, our budget is about as tight as it's ever been. And our debt don't roll off, our capital outlay debt don't roll off for a long time. I mean, into 2037. So, but it's always our responsibility to be looking ahead, you know, and see where our needs are. Another example is that, you know, potentially we have some old buildings, and Jeff can attest to that. I mean, we have some very old buildings just with issues, sewer issues. A lot of our buildings are just near the end of their life, you know, as far as them being safe for our students to be in. And in particular, on the chart here, you know, you do a great job of giving us an idea of how old some of our buildings are. East side, for example, south side, for example. You know, there has been a discussion that's not on here. Some of those things I've talked about is potentially consolidating some of these schools and making them a little bit bigger. That would require some rezoning. I know Liberty's on here as well. If we built a Liberty High School, which would be over $50 million, probably more than that now, because material costs and things like that continue to go up, we would have to do some rezoning. There's been discussion in the past of adding, of basically taking our CTE annex, because I'm sure many of you know Shelbyville Central, large school. We have 2 different campuses, and throughout the day, 6 buses are running students back and forth to the CTE annex, and that's our career technical classes. And there has been discussion when I was principal at Shelbyville Central of actually adding an addition, a CTE annex, and additional classrooms on the campus of where the main building is right now. That's not on here. That hasn't been discussed for quite some time, but we have to explore all the issues, really get a good grasp of where our population growth is going to be, and go from there. I know that's much more than what you asked for, but you invited me, so there you go.
And Mr. Chairman, that was my point. I don't want something to be stated in here that then the school board might be pressured because it's in this land use plan to actually implement. So, and it could be said that your 10-year plans fluctuate with the year, you know, and denote what's going to happen as with the population. And that's all. I just want him to look at it. If
Tim, before you sit down, I know we've discussed this multiple times. Josh is in here from the city. How many lots have been approved? How many are coming up? But how many are actually already approved? Those areas that will impact Cartwright, Cascade, mainly Central. Is that part of the 10-year plan? Because we've been together a lot the last 5 years. So people don't understand that if you said, hey, we want to build a school today, it would take 3 years, 4 years before it ever
At least.
comes to fruition to start,
Correct.
just because of the process. And an average school now is running $350 to $380 a square foot, depending on the type of school it is.
Right.
We are already at about 75% capacity, I think, at Cartwright, somewhere
Mhm.
close to that.
Yeah, it was built for 800. We're running around 650 right now.
And I
Yeah.
think our capacity is 800. We don't want to
Mhm.
go back to doing the cubicles because that was one
No,
of
we
the
do
things we
not.
fought to get out
Right.
of. And we look at Southside, which is 70-plus years old. So I just want the public to understand, even if you wanted to today, it would still be 3 to 4 years before you're even looking at starting. I mean,
That's correct.
Cartwright was delayed, Cascade was delayed, and so every year you're looking at $7-8 million is going to go up.
Correct. Yeah, and that is it's a moving target, you know. And when we're talking about money, and we're already short on money, you know, it's we want to. The no-brainer statement of the night for us is that we want to provide the best learning environment we can for our students. I will commend our school board of getting almost every single one of our students out of portables. You know, that was a big initiative by our board, and Chairman Cook and our board have done a great job in getting there. But you're right, Jeff, we don't want to go back there because I spoke to our teachers today at our kickoff. You know, there was a time I was principal at Cascade High School. We had 14 classrooms in portables. That's not safe. You know, on a stormy day, we had to keep our students in the main building because we didn't want them out in portables for logical reasons, you know. So, I mean, I've lived through that as a principal. I don't like what that means for our students and for our teachers. I'd rather not us go back to those days. But if this growth is coming that we expect, who knows? You know, I would prefer not to do that, but we've got to. We had to have money. I don't know where that's going to come from, but it's if we're going to move forward, you're right. I mean, if we said right now we wanted to build a new school anywhere, we're probably about at least three and a half years out before students would be walking in that building. So, and like you said, you are correct. Every year, costs go up. Did that address what you were?
That it would follow the 10-year plan.
Yeah,
I just don't want to see it.
you're right.
That's why we wanted you.
Yeah, and
Because we want you involved in this process.
yeah,
'cause
and I appreciate
if
that.
developments are being approved for that end of Bedford County, we need to be aware
Yeah.
of how that's gonna impact 3 or 4 schools
Yeah.
immediately.
And while I have the opportunity, I mean, I noticed that athletic facilities were on here. I just want to speak to that too. We did a master plan for Cascade High School and a master plan for community high school in order to have all athletic facilities. That would be field house, football field, soccer field, baseball field, softball field. I mean, that alone, we're looking at mid-20s as far as in the millions, $25 million to do all of that. You know, we've already done master plans with the help of Jeff and with our school board. We had the plans. We have a good idea where we would be able to put these facilities. It's just money, you know, and being able to do that. You know, we've been blessed at Shelbyville Central that Cooper Steel has been able to fund. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see those facilities. I would put those facilities up against some of Division I college facilities. I mean, but we don't have Cooper Steels, you know, in Cascade and community. And if they're out there, hey, we need your money. Mm-hmm.
One other thing, Kristen, this is one of your typo things, but anywhere the chamber is mentioned, it needs to read Bedford County Chamber of Commerce. A couple of places it's Shelbyville, a couple of places it's just the chamber. Did you get that one, Lynn? You probably be.
On that same, we got Calsonic Arena. It's got mentioned several places, and then I think we need to accentuate more on the Cooper Arena how many events that we're having. I think there's a whole lot more than it was, you know, a few years ago. I think that's a credit to them.
I think we also need to have, concerning page 44, get Greg Vick and the new president of the chamber involved.
And Chris, with all this tourism, one of your arms of the chamber now is tourism. I don't know how to interplay all that and not get all complicated, but
Well, I just think we need to incorporate what they're doing, so we're not going in 2 different directions. When we hand this out to the public, we want them to know we're on the same page.
And they have a copy of it. They have a draft copy. But I'll get with them and see if I get something out of them.
the master distillers on page 34, are you deleting that word? And Chris, he formed this little board. It was, I want to say, it's almost the perfect little farmer board to help us with dead animal pickup. And might be you could just throw that out, have him reform that as another one. It was a great bunch of people. Had all the statistics, like, 1,300 farms, how much acreage, percent acreage, and all that.
Could you spend some time on page 41 explaining the agriculture tourism plan?
It starts, Bedford County has a beautiful agricultural landscape, that paragraph right there. And then it goes on to name several farms, which are selling their produce directly to consumer. I think we need to, I don't know, my question is, do we need to rethink that where we're only picking out a few farms and naming them in this? Is that acceptable, do you think?
Well, my question is the 21 farms, the 3,248,000, is that just from those farms?
Yeah, what they're showing you is that Bedford County ranks #1. So if you look at, on the left, you see the row in terms of the number of farms, Murray being #1 with 24, Rutherford being the last in place with 17. But if you look in the next category, what you see is that the value of agritourism and recreational sales, Bedford ranks the highest at $3.248 million, whereas Bledsoe ranks lowest at $456,000. So even though we're fourth in terms of number of agritourism and recreation, farms with agritourism and recreation, we're #4 as far as the amount of those type of places that you can visit in Bedford County. But in terms of what they produce annually in revenue, we're #1. It's just agritourism and recreational sales.
Bedford County is #1.
So don't you think that should be emphasized more? Because if you just look at the chart, yeah, you get it, but I don't really think that it emphasizes, I kind of missed that, to be honest.
See, Bedford County is, we're real high in the number of beef cattle in Middle Tennessee. And that's a great big thing. Now Matthew will have all that kind of data that we can put in.
I just want to make sure when we put a chart out, we all understand what the chart means, so when the public sees it, they understand what it means.
Great.
It mentions that Bedford County doesn't have an agricultural tourism plan. Whose responsibility to do that plan? Would it be something that the county executive would appoint a committee to do?
Yeah, there's no mandate that you have to have an agritourism plan. They've just pointed out that we don't have one, and what that's designed to do is to just draw your attention to it. So if you have an idea, if you want the mayor to take a look at it, appoint some people to study it, look and see what other communities have done in terms of agritourism plans, then that's what I mean, that's the good thing about a plan like this, is it's constantly giving you ideas to think about things and do things that maybe hadn't been thought about. So it's a good place to do that. It's a good place, like, for instance, I mean, we're talking about the cost of building a school, for instance. I mean, even if we get it perfect today, by the time we come in, within 2 years, this is a 20-year plan. So, I mean, think about what that's going to be like in year 19. Literally everything in here that is timely will at some point in time become just a number that, that really has no value anymore, other than just to look back and see how things have changed. But that's not giving us a lot of value. But what it does do is, just like I was talking to Mr. Farmer earlier about what the plan also allows us to do is you have to keep in mind that the school board's going to have their own plan, and they're going to actualize that plan in the way that they have a budget to do and that kind of stuff. And that's not really a part of what we do. But by having a plan that sort of mirrors where they're headed, at least at that moment in time, at that snapshot in time, we have that. And then we have an opportunity later to be able to do something that sort of augments what happens for a school. Let's just say a neighborhood comes in next to a school and there's a grant for sidewalks or something like that. Because we plan for it, I mean, it really doesn't make much difference that the school board planned for it. If we didn't plan for it, we're not eligible for that grant. So these are going to give us opportunities and open doors for us for the next 20 years that we might not even can imagine at the moment, because things change, obviously. So that if you think about a comprehensive plan in that context, and not that I do want it to be as the day that you guys adopted, I want it to be as accurate as possible, and we can do that, and I want to do that, and that's what these are for. That's why we had Mr. Harwell here. But you got to think about it like in that context. This does more than just. It's more than just a tool that you can read and say, yeah, we thought about schools way back in. No, it just does way more than that. And also, it also puts it in the hands of other people who can team up with the school board and with school officials, and they have some understanding of where we're headed and where the school board was headed, at least in 2026. And so it just it creates that level of dialogue and opportunity that a lot of people just don't know about, because they don't have a document like that and they don't read stuff like that. And so this creates those opportunities, and it creates future opportunities for access to monies and things like that, where we can do a number of things across the board, not just with education, with an education element assigned to it, but also with other things as well.
Thank you for bringing to my attention the fact that there is not a separate section, or hardly even talked about, farming and cattle. It did not even dawn on me, but it needs to be in here.
Could you just be a general agriculture activities or livestock, or?
There's agritourism, but there's no agriculture.
We should make it a general, agriculture activities, any agriculture activity. Yeah, anything.
And that was my point, Lynn, and incorporate agritourism as, agriculture and agritourism.
So, and like I said earlier, the guy from UT who was supposed to come down, he is going to be helping us create a whole section for the agriculture.
Okay.
And a map. Like I said, we want to.
He'll have the current stats too.
Yes, he will.
Okay.
I mean, that's what they do, is they do this kind of thing all the time, and so it's going to be a big benefit for us to be able to sort of augment this report with custom maps and things like that, which we have in here now, but the agricultural zone was not included in the future land use map. So that was one thing that he and I talked about, and this has been maybe 2 months ago. But he was waiting at the time on his. They were hiring a GIS guy and creating position for that, and so he wasn't quite ready at the time, so. But we're headed towards that. But what it would do is it would be just like this, is it would talk about things that Kenan talked about in terms of the revenue, and it would break it down into poultry and beef and, you know, timber and all the different elements.
That's easy information for the, for them. For the extension, go to the extension, they'll give you all that.
And it can spotlight certain things. Let's just say you got a beekeeper that's doing some amazing, innovative things. You know, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just saying, but it's an opportunity to have a whole section just for agriculture. But anyway.
And Chris, within that section, reemphasize, you know, the rural preservation parts of our county that you're looking at.
Is there any other tables that you're confused about?
The other elementary schools going down and kids going to Cartwright?
Aiken in particular, their numbers went down. They went from the 600s down and probably, between 3 and 350, somewhere around in there. And that, we really needed that because that's one of our older schools. And so that school is much more manageable. And so, yeah, Cartwright also pulled some students from Cascade Elementary because that zone really is up against Cascade's zone right there, so it pulled a little bit from Cascade Elementary as well, and Eastside as well. Because we were intentional in our, because we had to do rezoning, right? Whenever we built that school, we had to do some rezoning, so just a lot of study went into those zones and where we could pull, and you know, there's a lot of different factors we got to keep in mind as we're pulling students from different schools, different zones, just for equitable reasons. So, yes.
Tim, is there a particular age in the decline?
It's across the
it's
board.
Across the board?
Yeah. I would say it's more, I think probably more of those numbers at middle school and high school as far as students potentially going to homeschool. Mm-hmm.
I think it's like Tim was saying earlier, I think the thing about that table that you should pay a lot of attention to is that last category. That schools, those schools are 51 years or older. And that's how, I mean, the majority of your school, you know, if you look
I
at.
went to school at Eastside.
I'll look for your
Now,
picture
not
in
the 1871
1925
picture, but the one after that.
I kinda got lost on the rural village neighborhood. We was talking about that around Cascade and wherever else. It said it's displayed on the future land use map, figure 1. I can't find future land use map, figure 1. Now, we found future land use map, figure 2, which has that on there, but I don't know if that's, is it a typo or what?
I think it's important for the community to realize, and Tim can talk about this also, the number of grants Lori Sexton and Mr. Harwell worked on the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, a lot of our projects were not from taxpayer money, but actual grants.
Yes, that's true. Is the money that we got. I mean, we got millions of dollars, and we were very strategic in how we spent that money as far as I'm just thinking about some of the projects that we were able to do, additions to schools, you know, community high school, that addition was as a result of ESSER money, you know. We also, the purchase of the TCAT building, that was as a result of ESSER money. And there's other addition projects that we were trying to do that would not be reoccurring, you know, expenses. So it, you're talking about Lori Sexton, primarily the ISM grant, which is the Innovative School Models grant, and some of the things that we were able to do there, you know, as far as providing more opportunities for our students, whether it be in agriculture, whether it be in culinary arts, building greenhouses, you know, things that we can really enrich the education for our students and have hands-on, in particular CTE classes. You know, we want to provide as many opportunities to get our students involved in things that they may be employed in down the road.
And Bridge Bedford is hooking up, Bridge Bedford
Oh, yeah.
Is hooking on to this too with all that they're looking for.
Yes, ma'am.
In the grants.
Yes, ma'am.
For the schools and.
In particular, yes, ma'am, you're correct. In particular, in college and career readiness, you know, that's one of the things that each school district's held accountable for in the state of Tennessee is the CCR, and that's college career readiness, and basically whether it be college dual enrollment course offerings, whether it be more CTE offerings. Once again, I'm gonna give a shout out to our board, just providing the funding for us to hire more of those type of teachers and to provide more of those enriching experiences for our students. So we've made some great strides in the last 5 years. We would like to keep that momentum going. And with that, once again, it just comes back to budget and what we can and cannot do with that money.
We're gonna go. This is a work in progress, so, I mean, we're gonna go through this and get it right before we get it out to the public.
Yeah, item B is basically just saying that Lynn and I worked, or she actually did all the heavy lifting. She did all the editing on the first draft that you guys looked at the first time and got those to me, and she just handed me one for this current section that you're looking at. And so I'm plugging away at that and working on that, and hopefully you'll see a major improvement when we get done.
Chris, do you think there should be something in there about the private schools, you know, like Webb School, and you mentioned, I mean, are we only focusing on public schools, or?
No, I mean, it's private, but I mean, we talk about other things that are private.
Right.
So no, I don't have a problem with it.
I mean,
It's just,
I think that would be good to put that in there, especially like the Webb School is.
yeah, I think we need to plug that in. I think, yeah, we'll do that. But, you know, item B is just telling you that that's something that we're actively working on. So, so you can move on to old business if you want to. I know that Superintendent Mark Clatton's here talk about driveway permits and that sort of stuff, and road widths and things, and then we can dig into the details if you want to talk about that. And I didn't put anything on here for you guys to vote on tonight. All these things would be things, amendments to the to the subdivision regulations, and so we would have to have a public hearing for that. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of them and just think about them first. And so me handing it to you and telling you, hey, we're ready to vote on something. So but that's what all these things are. They're just study items.
So
Okay,
we
cool.
got 2 more sections, right, Chris? That we,
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
we need
2
to
more
assign-
divisions that we could do. So it looks like
I was just looking at that. Let's see, first we did page 1 to page 32, then we did 34 to 48. No, not 48, but 62. And so next we could either do one of 2 ways. We could either do 65 and take care of the existing and future land use element to page 90 to page 81 and call it a day. That's probably the most that's the thing that is kind of more in your wheelhouse as far as the things we typically deal with day in, day out. But it wouldn't be, it would just be that one section. Or you could decide just to knock the whole thing out if you want to do it, because it's really just there's just that in the transportation element left. So, and then a lot of addenda. Well, I was talking about you could either do existing and future land use element from page 65 to 90 to 81.
Let's just do it all.
Or we could just assign the whole rest of it. And if we get to a part where if we're going long and you want to, break up and have it, do some more later on another meeting, that's fine too. But if you want to do that, you can however you want to do it. I'm fine. Well, Mark's here to talk about something else on the agenda.
No, Tim, you gotta stay till I leave.
Hey, I've already dealt with you once already, Jay. We're good.
Maybe I'm trying to just help you out a little bit, because I just received this packet of what y'all were looking at last week. So I'm in the process of looking at all the transportation part, and I'm not even close to being all the way through it. And I'm working plans out now. I've been working on for over a year of trying to get a program set up for roads and transportation stuff going in the future. So if you want to leave the transportation out till maybe the next month when you meet, I think it would help me, and I think it would help all of us a little bit, where I can have some notes and some other things and some other information I can get to Chris that he hasn't got in there that I have set up over what I'm looking at. So if it would help y'all out, I think it might help us all if we could wait on the transportation part till next month, because I just hadn't had enough time to really go through it like I need to. I'm talking about your next meeting.
You're talking about us assigning it at the next meeting.
Well, I'm just talking about the transportation part. You was talking about they could do one section and then wait on transportation, or do it, however you want to do it. I'm just saying the transportation part. If y'all want to go on through it, but I would like to.
I think what
Yeah.
Reed's asking, are you talking about September or October?
Whenever you want to talk about transportation.
Well, we have one in August, and he's wanting to miss that one, so.
So let me clear this up. What we were talking
I
about
don't
is
know what he said. I'm sorry.
what we're talking about, Mark, is assigning either for the reading to get prepared for next month's meeting.
Yeah.
Would
Oh,
either
okay.
be
Okay.
just the existing and future land use element.
Yeah.
Or the existing and future land use element and the transportation element. Would you rather us just do the land use element first for this month, for next month, and then at the end of that month, and that gives you 2 months to work on?
Oh, that'd even be
Okay.
better for me. I can
Well, then
lock everything in at that point.
That's
I just don't want to jump ahead of the horse a little bit, since I haven't had time really to go over the document like I needed to.
Okay, so let's assign pages 65 to 81. Well, up to 95, I guess, because the transportation element starts on 96. So,
81 gets us to transportation.
yeah, 65 to 95. Okay, Mr. Chairman, we can move on to old business now.
Chairman, the wastewater committees probably have something at the next meeting too, so we may, I'd like to put that, during that discussion, so we won't be able to go too far into this, comprehensive plan. So it'll take a little while to discuss that.
Will you be ready to present that at the August meeting?
I hope so. I think, we're gonna have a meeting in next few weeks, and hopefully we get it approved through our committee and able to send it to the planning commission and, but to say for sure, now if it doesn't pass or we need to do some more, it may have to go to another meeting, but hopefully, cause it's a really good Chris did a really good job on it. I can't see how we make a lot of changes, but we may come up with something. Lynn, if she can't come up with anything, there probably won't be anything.
Do you want to discuss the data center that we're not ready to present that? Yeah, we can go through the list. Chris just said we're not voting on any of those. Those are just information for us to review.
Well, yeah, we're going to start number 6, old business. I don't think the data center's on there. We took care of that last month.
We can go through it. I understood this was only for reading at this time.
That's true.
Huh?
Yeah, I think when I wrote this, of course, you guys had already voted on the recommending the moratorium on the data centers. That's the last item on this section. But the reason why I put that on there is because when I wrote the agenda, I had not finished the resolution for the moratorium. I have finished it and turned it into the mayor's office. It actually has gone to the Rules and Legislative Committee, and they recommended putting it on the commission agenda. I will say this: it will not be on this next commission agenda because the mayor felt like, because he's going to have some new commissioners on board, that he wanted to give them an extra month so that they would have an opportunity to learn about it and sort of immerse themselves in it before it be one of the first votes that they take. And so it's such a comprehensive thing. So it's not going to be on, but it has gone through you guys, and it's gone through Rules and Legislative in time to be on the next commission agenda, but the mayor wanted to put it on the following.
So September?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question about item 6B, where we're talking about 18-foot width. I live on an 18-foot wide street, and I'd hate to think I had subdivision traffic coming out, because when you pull out, you're crossing into that other lane. I think that needs to be at least 20. I mean, that's only 9, you cut that in half, it's only 9 feet. Well, a hay trailer coming down through there, I guarantee you it's 9 feet.
Mark, would you want to get up and address that issue?
And I know, Mark, at one time, we even talked about 22.
What was the question?
Let me read it, and then he can ask you the question.
Okay.
It says minimum roadway widths for major subdivisions. Road superintendent. Discussion between the director and the superintendent, Mark Clanton, landed on 18 feet as a recommended minimum roadway width for a county road where a major subdivision is proposed.
That's where most of the subdivisions are being developed now. Those roads are 18 feet. That's why I said 18. If you want to do 20, I am 100% fine with that. That is better. That extra 2 feet does give you a leadway when you're doing something, but the thing we've got to start working on in our subregs and some of the documents that you do is we need to, Chris and myself, especially, I guess it's more me than it is Chris, I guess on my end, since it's a road deal, but we need to have the ability to require the developers of a subdivision to upgrade roads. We've got some wording in there, but it's not specified, I don't think. Chris, you correct me if I'm wrong. It's not specified in where I can, as a road superintendent, require if someone wants to put a major subdivision in, that road's only 18 feet or 16 feet wide or whatever. If they want to do it in that area, then they have to upgrade the road that is adjoining for them to come for the ingress and egress for a subdivision. And
But
have
that
to do
goes
that part.
against, Mark, preserving the ruralness.
Yes,
You know.
it does.
So you got 18-foot road, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't want the big subdivisions up and down that road, and then what I hear you saying is the developer wants to make it an interstate, he can, and do what he wants to. I don't go along with that.
Well, what I'm saying is, if y'all wanted a subdivision to come in and everybody was on board for a 300 lot subdivision to come in in an area, then there is ways to get that done to upgrade the road part. I agree with you, but what I'm saying is, we've got a projected project that's on a road. I'm not going to bring it up. Me and Chris have been working on now for what, 3 months, I guess. That he's not particularly happy about. I'm not real happy about it. But it needs road upgrades. That road is 18 feet. It's not a 20-foot road. So when y'all was asking me the size of it, that's where the 18 feet come from. Because that is basically 90% of all the development that's going on in roads. Those roads are basically 18 feet. They have not been widened out over all these years with the development coming and things like that. So, and I agree 100%, 20 feet is the best number, but you're basically going, I mean, I guess it's not a bad thing, I guess, if you want to look at it, but it would kill more than, I'm going to say, I'm looking at Chris, you think I'm off if I say you're going to kill more than 75% if you make it 20?
So let me ask you a question, Mark. The road width is a concern for me also.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more concerned
It
with
is
the,
for me too,
the
trust
width
me.
of the road coming out, the throat of the road, and somebody coming out, and also driveways. I think we need to have a requirement of a minimum of 26 feet, the first 12 feet, because if you're doing a 300 lot subdivision, that's 3 to 4 years of construction.
Mm-hmm.
You take a 17-foot truck with a 16-foot trailer, like Reed said,
Yep.
there's no way they're gonna stay in their lane
No,
at
there's
all.
not.
There's just no way they can do it.
Well, they're not staying in their lane now on the developments that we've got going on now. That's one reason why I put the driveway permit in, and y'all was, really helpful getting that started. Commission passed that. That's going to help because now I do have the authority, even though I had the authority, but we needed in writing for me to utilize that authority because, like Chris was saying earlier, a lot of people don't believe the powers that we have and what we have to do our job. So I wanted it in writing. So when a subdivision comes in, or somebody buys a 5-acre tract and they want to split up and put 3 lots on it, I have the ability now with Chris to look at it and specify where those driveways are and what the size of that driveway is. I do have that ability now, and that's going to fall back into the subdivisions coming through too. So any ingress or egress coming from the county roads, we do have that authority now with that driveway permit.
I'll mention this, because we've been having this conversation, I don't know, 8 months, something
Yeah.
like that. And initially, and Josh, I don't want to throw you under the bus. I would never do that.
Hey, I'll throw them under the bus.
But the city's been pretty aggressive about building a lot of lots here, or let's just say approving a lot of lots. There's a lot on the books that
Yeah.
a couple thousand hadn't been built yet,
Yeah.
that have been approved. And when the city builds houses, the county has to build schools, and we're not getting all that revenue, and it's a challenge. So on some level, thinking about the 20 feet, honestly,
Mhm.
because on some level, what we're trying to do is wrap our hands around
Mhm.
this growth issue. Because if the city has its own agenda, and that's their rights to manage it and run it the way they see fit.
Mhm.
And the county doesn't really have any way to, and nor do I know of anybody that wants to tell them what to do, you know, but
Oh, I'm fine with doing
But if
that.
they're
I come from
have-
that side, I'm good.
if they are having these growth pains, for whatever reason, it almost forces us in the rural areas to throttle back a little bit. And this is a tool that we can use. I think it's a good tool, and I think that
Mhm.
it's a reasonable tool to try to control growth to some extent.
And me and you had that discussion. We were both on the same page there. We was all over 20 feet, but everybody I think when you asked me that question that night, with the majority of the roads being 18, that's where I just come up with 18. It wasn't because I want to be 18, because I'll be totally honest with you, what you're saying is right, and you bring up schools, and I know schools is always on the top of the list for everything of what it's going to affect. But let me give you another instance of things that all the development affects is your roads. Schools say they don't have enough money to build schools and to do all this stuff. I can guarantee you, I have no money to upgrade the roads. And all the developments that is going on in the city is affecting my roads in the county. There's not a city resident that doesn't drive on our county roads. I don't care who it is. If you live in a city, at some point in time, you're driving on a county road. Whether you're going out there, you own land out in the county, you're leaving from inside the city, you're going to the county. All these developments with all 350 or 400 lots, you can average now, we used to say a lot of times on developments, you can guarantee 2 cars per house. Well, that's changed. And I'm looking at Jeff, I think Jeff will agree with me. That number now is not 2, but it's 3. Well, if you've got 1,000 houses, let's just say, in a group area, I'm just gonna make a round number, or 100, instead of just having 200 cars impacting your roads, now you've got 300. And then the next development comes down here, another 100 lot development, then here it comes again. So I am 100% fine with 20 feet if that is what the premise of this body wants to do, is try to slow some of this growth down. I'm 100% fine with that. The 18 number is not what I said I wanted. That's what we have. Yeah. And most of the time you'll see a bus in those ditches, or you'll see a tractor, or you'll see somebody with a trailer and a truck that's trying to get into their hayfield, and they're running off in the ditches. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If your top priority is to slow down the development and maintain the rural status that we all like to see, then 20 is the number you need to go with, because it's going to be very few roads. But I'm just going to forewarn you that there's going to be very few areas that's going to be able to be developed. If you say 20, those are very, very few in this community. Well, but that's what I was saying, and Linda's, and I agree with her. You don't want to give them free rein to just upgrade everything, because I don't want to do that. But in the same token, we have, as Chris was saying earlier, we have legal responsibility. We just I can't cut Alan off for wanting to develop over here because I don't want him to develop right there. Yes.
Was we were able to have 2 or 3 ingress egress, and we could control the traffic. But then when we don't go that direction, and they go by what's already approved, and they put 24 driveways coming out on an 18-foot road, and no requirements on how wide their driveway has to be,
Well,
That's a concern for me from an ambulance standpoint.
Yes.
School buses, services from you, and we are a farming community, so you get somebody that's got a 80 horsepower tractor and a hay trailer, they're gonna take up the road, cause
Yeah.
their round bales are sticking 2 feet off the trailer.
it turns into a one-lane road.
Let me say something our main concern is not really to slow down development. We're not
Yeah.
deciding that we don't want to slow it down or speed it up
Right.
or anything, and it really is not our concern of the cost of it. I know that's an issue, 'cause like you said, it may, but that's really not any of our concern. Our concern more is the safety.
Yeah.
So it's not anything to do with the cost
Yeah.
or slowing down or speeding up.
Yeah.
These aren't factors we need to consider.
Right.
I agree, but like y'all cleaned Red Hill Road the other day, I was following one of the trucks,
Mhm.
and we picked up 2 feet of road
Yeah.
just getting them cleaned up because they had so much debris and trash and trees and leaves. And I
Mhm.
think I just would like some impact from Kenny on school buses and what it's gonna cost. Our developers are important to us,
Yes.
but we need to make sure that the county taxpayer is not paying for stuff that they're not benefiting from.
You're exactly right, and Alan, what you're saying right there, I think Chris can tell you since I've been on this side of the fence over here, coming from the city side, I'm very particular about the plans that coming in on the roads. I have made major changes on some developments that has come in, the few that has come in over the time, looking at the safety factors of it. I've made them widen out, radiuses and curves and part of it, because I didn't think a fire truck can't get around that. It's too narrow. And we worked on a subdivision that y'all finally approved that was coming in as a PUD. I will tell you, coming from the city side, over there for 20 years, dealing with all the developments, and on that side of the fence, it's sort of like I am over here as road superintendent, basically. I helped write all the sub-reg specs. I helped write all the rules and regulations that the planning commission was putting in place. I helped write all those. When PUDs first come up, about 15 years ago probably, was when it really took the brunt. I can tell you, I know on this side, on the county side, when you say PUD, everybody feels like an alien is landing and is fixing to kill everybody in the family. I will tell you, the best way for you as a planning commission and the commission itself to control growth is through a PUD. It gives you the hammer, it gives you the decisive power to put in what you want there. You can, and luckily now with the driveway permit that I've got, even though it's just small and it sounds small, but everything you was talking about, the 25 driveways of judging that road, I'm sorry, that's not happening anymore. In fact, me and Chris have already got together on 2 or 3 developments that they had this, and this, and this, and I took 5 out of one road. They had only 12 driveways, but I took 5 of them out. It went from 12 to 7. But we done it by talking it because I didn't have the power. Technically, I do have the power as road superintendent, but when it's not written anywhere, I can be challenged, if that makes sense. But now that we've got that there won't be any of those situations that will come to y'all's table to look at a set of plans that I have signed off on saying I'm good with everything that's been in here. But if you're looking at the most feasible and the most authority you could have as a group to control development in this community, I personally, and I know I'm going to get ripped for saying this, but I personally hope everything would come in to Chris to come to y'all would be a PUD. Because then you talking about watching us control the growth and watching how to control those houses are setting and setting where those lots are, you can control that entire development. So to me, if you want to go to the 20 feet, that's a start. But I want to make sure that make you very aware that there is a very low number of the 700 something roads, not the miles. We have over 700 roads, individual roads that I'm responsible for. There's not going to be close to probably 100 of those roads that's going to meet that 20-foot criteria. So that's where I'm just saying 20 feet is the optimal size. But I just want to make you aware of that. If you go with a 20 and you have to go by your rules, it's going to narrow that window of the development area.
So what I'd like to do is this is not something we're voting to approve tonight. It's not on the agenda for that. But what I would like you to do is, as a group, is to collectively let me know how to bring it back to you in the form of a resolution for next month. So if you want me to bring it back with 20 feet on there, if you want me to bring it back with 30 feet on there, like whatever it is that you tell me.
Yeah.
But keep in mind all the things that Mark talked about. And I throw one other thing in there too, is that, and we don't have a tremendous amount of major subdivisions. And I know that people think we do, but we've had 5 in 5 years, and 2 of them were on a highway, on 2 different. I mean, no, 2. One of them was on a highway. One of them was on a collector road that was like 22 feet. So there was only 3 that were on 18-foot roads, and so we don't have a tremendous amount of lots. I think we've averaged 38 a year for the last 5 years in terms of these type of lots. Now, we do have individual lot development that happens where a farmer carves off a lot for a granddaughter or something like that. We have that every day. And so, but those are things like if somebody carves off a 5-acre lot, again, it's another one of those things that's exempt by law because of how the state defines a subdivision in the law, and because in the law you're given your powers to regulate subdivisions. So when you regulate subdivisions, then we have to define what a subdivision is, and that's a division of land less than 5 acres. And it goes in a little more detail than that, but that's the simple premise of it. So again, it's one of those situations where the definition of a word means everything, but we don't have any control over that. Most of them we don't even see. Sometimes they bring them to us because they want to know, is it a buildable lot? Because creating a lot that's exempt, they don't have to go to us at all, so they don't get advice, they don't understand what causes it to be a buildable lot, the dimensional characteristics, any of that. That's all done in the subregs, which the Planning Commission has jurisdiction over. Once it ends up as a zoning, in the zoning ordinance, that's a whole different set of rules, and it applies to all the lot development. So as far as like once the lot is created, which is what we're doing here, then it goes here, and then if the lot doesn't meet the requirements for a building lot, then I don't have the jurisdiction to issue a permit. So in some cases, they can go to the BZA and get a variance under certain criteria, and it's not as easy as it sounds either, but there's a lot of that goes in it. But anyway, just understand when you're thinking about this and you tell me what to do and what to come back with next month, it's not like we have a tremendous amount of major subdivisions in rural areas. We don't have a lot of it. But I kind of, just as your planning director, I kind of like the idea of 20 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do as your road superintendent.
Mr. Chairman.
Mark, question on, we think of the urban growth boundary as our more dense area. There now, Linda wouldn't have any problem with if someone wanted to upgrade that 18-foot to 20-foot themselves.
Yeah.
And so think about that, Chris. But that's the urban growth boundary. Then you get out in the podunk areas and.
Which, and I agree with you, but like I said, I've been doing this so long on the city side and now over here. Even though you're looking at an urban setting, on some roads, you've got an intersection. As the road superintendent by state statute, I do have the authority to tell Jeff, if he's developing, this is what you got to do to get me to sign off to approve it for my roads. And then Jeff goes, well, you gotta show me where you got that authority. Then I have to show him the statute. If what I was talking about in that part, I think, Chris, and you correct me if you think I'm talking outside the box, there is caveats for developments, even in the rural settings, that could help in upgrading an intersection or upgrading this road right here, because that road, you know, like I said, may not be but 16 feet wide, to where it could upgrade it at the intersections to help the people that's already living in that area, that I don't have the money to go in and redo the roads on. That's the only part of where I have to look at it, like Chris was saying earlier, we have to look at it as a whole ball of wax. We can't look at it as a spot here and a spot there. You have to look at, if I make a rule for something over here, I got to make sure that rule's going to work over here. And that's why I wanted to get that driveway permit set up, because that does help out with a lot of that kind of stuff. And that's the reason why I just brought that up. It's not that I'll say I want them to do that. That's what we want, is the developers come in and take a 18-foot road and make them 20 feet or whatever. But there is, and I think Chris will agree with me, probably the last 2 or 3 subdivisions we've looked at, we've talked about, boy, it would be nice if we could force them to do this over here, which I do have the authority to force them, but then I got to go through a fight with their attorneys and prove that I've got that authority and stuff. But if we've got it in subregs, they know that on the front end. That's the only reason I brought that up. It's not that that's saying that's something I think we need to do. I just think it's something that needs to be looked at, because if y'all were looking at something for a 20-year plan, it's going to be completely different a year from now. Not 20 years. It's going to be completely different than what we're dealing with in a year.
Okay, couldn't we make that where, based on the road superintendent's recommendations, put it something like that? Then that gives you.
Well, and it puts them in a really bad spot too.
Yeah, which I stay in a bad spot, so I know that's
Bother me,
normal.
you being in a bad spot, Mark.
Hey, Mark, I'm trying to think, Ed Joyce and Coop Road, how wide are those roads?
Coop Road's 18 feet.
And what's Ed Joyce?
Ed Joyce, 18. They look like Coop Road may look like it's 20 feet, but it's on my road list. And I can give y'all, I can give Chris all the information. I'll go through my road list. But you can look on there at what the roads that are 20 feet, and the road, it tells the width of the roads and all. But yeah, Coop Road's 18 feet.
And back to what
Coop
Alan.
Road's dangerous to me when you're.
It's very dangerous.
Back to what Alan said too. You're an authority. Mark Thomas is an authority, and Brian. Kenny with the school buses. You know, those are the. It's like Alan said on the safety part of it. Get with those people and let Chris know. We all have our just opinions because of whatever, but like Alan said, as far as the zoning documents too, part of our purpose is protection and safety.
Well, I think
not just passion.
And I think that's what we're all supposed to do. I need to be looking, because I think Chris can tell you, when I'm looking at something, I'm looking at it on safety right off the bat. Is it a safety place that they want to put this, 50-lot subdivision or 25-lot subdivision? Then I start looking at, can emergency vehicles make it through here? Make sure the roads are set up. We made a big change on the Longview Road subdivision. We completely, I guess I can say this, I guess I won't get fussed at like Chris. I guess I'm going to be on social media for saying this, but when Chris and myself got on this thing, the roads as they're designed of what you approved was nothing like it started out to be. Chris and myself went through there and completely revamped how they had the roads and how they had their cul-de-sacs and how they had stuff in there. We basically redesigned that entire deal. And they kept it that way, even though they didn't get to a PUD, but they was gracious enough to keep it that way for safety-wise. So it does give you, I mean, like I said, I think 20 feet's the most safest thing. But I want to make sure that you understand, if you set that rule that you can't come in, and I'm like Chris, there's not many major subdivisions going to come in anyway, so it's probably not going to affect anything for the next 2 or 3, 4, or 5 years. But somewhere down the line, there's going to be a Jeff Sweeney. Because you messed up Memphis, so I was going to bring you to.
So it doesn't affect 231 at all, which is a major corridor. It doesn't
Exactly.
affect 41. It doesn't affect 64.
It doesn't affect your state highways whatsoever. Square Hall, I think don't hold me to that. Have you got my list? tell me what it is. Yeah, I did. Yeah, when I had them paved. Yeah, when I paved it, I think it was 18 feet. Is what it was. And I had them widen it out just because of the truck traffic and the people on that road. Huh?
Mr.
Well,
Chairman,
that's Rutherford County.
Mr. Chairman.
On that.
Yes, Reed.
Chris asked for
Oh, yeah,
how many
yeah, I did.
people,
You're right.
you know, kind of were support. Can we get a show of hands? I know we're not voting on it. Can you get a show of hands? How many people are supporting 20 feet?
18.
But I want to mention, because you mentioned control a lot. We don't control growth. You know, that's because we don't want to say that we do that.
No.
We wanted to say that actually we manage the growth rather than
Yeah.
we don't want to control it.
Well,
You know,
I just say control.
yeah, be
but
more managing than control.
You want to manage the growth.
Yeah.
Reed, if we're going to have that kind of vote, we have to put it on the agenda for public to know it. Yeah. I still think we have to do it for public.
And I want to make sure you understand. I support the 20 feet also.
And will you talk to Mark Thomas and Kenny?
Mm-hmm.
Building V subdivision, they don't have one. City building V subdivision close to the city limits. And so all that traffic gonna be on the county roads. You know, so we need to be sure that we get something, when they build something, they got to take care of the county part too.
So I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, but we are trying to work with the city on some of our restrictions. I think Chris and Thomas have started working together. I think it is important that we have light codes and requirements on our development. Some of them we can't because we're two different municipalities, but I think it's important that we work together on that.
Yeah, and I'll give some kudos to Josh here, 'cause he's been really consistent in coming to our meetings and kind of following what we're doing, and he's invited me to other meetings and things, and so we've been working really close with the planning department and with Josh and with the city manager here of late. It's been really good, and we're just trying to develop a vision, like a shared vision, and figure out where we need to go and make better decisions together collectively. So.
I think it ought to be 24 months instead of 12.
On item C.
You think it should, how many, Reed?
24 months instead of 12 months. You know, extend the amount of how soon they can subdivide it again. You know, because 3 houses, they could spend a year building 3 houses and turn right around and start the next project.
So if anybody of you have looked at this, have read it already, you'll see that what we're trying to accomplish here is a new definition of the word simple subdivision, a new definition of the word minor subdivision, and a new definition of major subdivision. And so that's what these are. And so, yeah, if you'll go through, the one that Reed's talking about right now would be a simple subdivision. And so a simple subdivision normally is just, you know, it's just, yeah, normally it's just, you know, one lot. In the past, it could be, when this thing first started off, it was essentially like a 2-lot or 1-lot subdivision. And a 1-lot subdivision is really technically a 2-lot subdivision, because if you're carving one off another, then you end up with 2. But over time, the law changed, and of course, it was a lot busier. We had a lot more growth and a lot more things going on. The staff was a lot busier, and the law changed to allow the administrative approval of simple subdivision lots to go up to, like, I don't know, like 25. And used to, I think the maximum was 5. And you had the bigger cities and stuff, and their planning departments were doing these administrative approvals, and they would do up to 5 lots, and we were, you know, still doing 1. But then they changed the law, so now the bigger cities can do up to like 25, just staff level. But the secretary of the planning commission still has to sign them. So essentially what it does is it's an administrative process where somebody comes in with 1 little lot or 2 little lots or whatever, and our job is just to make sure that the dimensional requirements meet the minimum guidelines, and that the setbacks are correct, that the perk site is 100% encompassed within the dimension, you know, the boundaries of the lot, you know, all the criteria, and then to represent that to the secretary of the planning commission when she comes in for approval. So that's what we're doing. We run those by Linda. Linda looks at every one. She checks them with a fine-tooth comb, and she either signs them or she don't. I've never seen her not sign one, but that's what an administrative approval looks like. And what it does is it keeps you from having to hear things till 10 o'clock at night, because we do so many of those. We do more of that than we do anything. So, but when they changed that law where you could do up to 25 administratively, we went up to 5. And so, like I said, the growth was a lot different back then. Now we're recommending that we would like to cut it back down to 3. And just because I don't think it needs to be 5. And I think that what's happening is because we're a smaller county, and because a lot of subdivisions aren't that big, you know, we get 12, 15, 20-lot subdivisions a lot of times, even the bigger ones. And but when somebody gets to do 5 lots just through an administrative process, sometimes they really want to do 10, but they just come to us and say, we want to do 5. And then it's a simple process. They don't have to come and see you guys, because it's an administrative process. But then the next month or the month after that, they come in with another 5. And so it's from the same parent track, I guess you could say. And if we'd known it was going to be 10, we would have looked at it differently. We'd have looked at it like a major subdivision, where they would have had to design the storm water systems and things like that, so to deal with stormwater. When it's 1 or 2 lots, that's not even written into the regulations. So it's like, if we know there's going to be that many lots, we plan for that, and we have those requirements for it. But if we don't, we don't. And so what's happening is people are kind of abusing the system. So what I thought we would do is we would step back. See, when we did that, we actually eliminated the term minor subdivision altogether. We just had simples and majors. Now what I'm recommending in this, if you read through it, you'll see that what I want to do is cut back a simple subdivision to 3 lots in a 12-month period. And what Reed was saying was he would like to see the 12-month period turn into a 24-month period. And what that does, that 12-month period or that 24-month period or whatever you guys land on, what that does is, if a person really wants to do 10 lots, they're probably not going to wait 12 months. They're probably not going to wait, certainly not going to wait 24 months. They'll just come to you, and they'll just come see you, and they'll go through that normal process. It's not really that much more difficult anyway. People like to avoid that. And but when they go through that process, it is a little bit more costly, because we're going to require them to do something and engineer that water, stormwater. So that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest part of it. So, but we kind of like to want to know that up front. And so that's what this whole thing does, is just essentially it sets a time period of how long it can be before they can carve another 3 lots off of it.
It would force them to be better land management. It'd force them to do a better land management, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
When two,
So
Alan,
the two things in question is whether the 3 lots is what you want to do. You want to go back to 1 lot, and then the 12 months. Those are kind of the things I think. The rest of it is pretty much what we have now.
Are we gonna eliminate minor then? We're just gonna have simple and major?
Now, what I'm recommending, we'll do it however y'all want to do it. Y'all have the power, not me.
Well, it just seems like we're skirting around what we're trying to do, to me. I think if it's 3, 4, whatever, and it's 2 years, after that, it needs to be a major subdivision. Because we're going 4 to 6, 1 to 3. Let's just have a number. If it's that number or less, it's a simple subdivision. If it's over that number, it's a major subdivision. And because it's going to impact too many drainage issues, roads, I think we need to cut it off and just have a straight number.
I can agree with that. What I've seen in just over the years listening to these things is we've got all kinds of drainage issues and flooding issues that were caused by adding driveway after driveway after driveway because they didn't want to put in detention ponds and they didn't want to do any of that stuff. And we've created nightmares for Mark. And I think we need to stop doing that.
So I'm fine with the 3 and 12 months, and then after that, it goes to major subdivision.
And Alan, on some of yours, and
3 and
Chris will back
24
me up on it, some of these developers are coming in they'll sell the 3 or 4 lots to get money to do the next 3 or 4 lots, and they come right back then, and I have a hissy fit.
But I think we need the 24 months. You know, do the 3 lots is fine, but they need, if they're going to do it another section, they need to wait. Yeah, that just brings them. Let's just go and bring them here. So that, you know, if we go to 24 months, if they really want to do that, then let them just come in and show us how they're going to handle the water.
You'll notice too, under major subdivisions, there's 2 different definitions of a major subdivision. So one of them would just be, if somebody has the same parent tract and they want to develop another lot or another 10 lots or another 20 lots or whatever it is, then that's considered a major subdivision if they do it within that 12-month or that 24-month period. And that way, that's the way I'm handling it. That way you don't have to tell somebody no. I mean, the thing is, when you're dealing with people's property rights, you have to be pretty careful. And I think it's a slippery slope. And so you have to, I think in this case, the way I've sort of envisioned this is that this doesn't say it's a flat no. It just says if you're going to do any more, it's a major subdivision, and that means you will have to do the drainage, you will have to do the detention, or whatever is required. So what do you want to do? You want to eliminate minor? Minor doesn't exist right now, so I don't have to, I could just eliminate it off of your resolution when I prepare it and bring it to you.
3 and 12 months is a simple subdivision. After that, they have to come before for a major. Sorry, 24 months.
Is there a consensus on that?
Better land management, I think.
3 and 4 are just technical. 5 would be this new section for minor subdivisions, which if we're not going to use those anyway, then we don't even have to talk about that. I can just take it off.
Move.